This is Russell from Adobe. Let's create your first module. This tutorial, we're going to explain the core files and folders needed for a module to be recognized by the Adobe Commerce application. The absolute minimum required files and folders are 3 folders, 1 PHP file, and 1 XML file. The overall container for these customizations is called a package. You may also hear this being referred to as a vendor. Package is a parent directory and it holds all the customizations for this company or organizational structure. It is typical for this folder to be the name of the project, maybe the company, perhaps the developer or team doing the work. The name's whatever you like, just don't use the word Magento. Avoid using all capital letters, and remember the first letter should be the only one that's capitalized. The only exception might be is if you have several words together, then follow a camel case pattern, but no spaces. For this tutorial, we're going to choose the name training as our package. And let's not forget it needs to start with a capital T. Next is our module or feature. Remember, this folder goes inside our new training folder. It is an acceptable pattern that this folder be named after a core module. So if you're extending some core functionality, perhaps if you're doing something new, then choose a good word or description. So for example, let's say you've been asked to create a calculator for your website. Then the name of this folder should be calculator with a capital C. However, for this tutorial, we're going to be laying some groundwork for doing something when a customer places an order. So we're going to try to investigate which would be the best name for this. For this, we're going to do some research and we're going to look inside of the Magento application. And we're going to see that the Magento module sales deals with placing an order and all of its functionality. So it's going to make sense that we use the word sales for our module. Using this pattern is great for future developers. They can quickly look at the folder name and just a few of the files that are inside to have a basic idea of the customizations that were done. If you decided to use a different schema like ABC123, then a developer would have to open up every folder, review every file and all of its contents just to figure out what it was designed to do. This type of disorganization is just going to give you headaches in the future, so be thoughtful on your naming convention. Future developers, including yourself, will appreciate it. Next on our list is going to be the registration.php file. Notice the lowercase r for the first letter of the file name. This does not follow the same naming conventions. We're going to actually go over the contents of this file in just a few minutes. Our last folder that we're going to talk about is the Etsy folder. Normally this contains XML files. However, if you do review some of the core modules, you'll find XSD, JSON, and even GraphQLS. However, for what we're going to be doing, XML files are typical what you'll find in the Etsy folder, but it is nice to see what else can exist. For this tutorial, we're going to need a new file inside of the Etsy folder called module.xml. Once again, we're going to go over the contents of this file in just a few minutes. So that's basically it. That's all that's required as far as files and folders to get a brand new module recognized by the Adobe Commerce application. So when we're done, we are going to have inside of app code a new folder called training. Inside of that, we're going to create a new folder called sales. Inside of that, we're going to have a registration.php. We need an Etsy folder, and inside of that is going to contain one XML file called module.xml. Now that we've described the parts, we can actually show you how easy it is to do this. Instead of manually creating these files, which is actually perfectly reasonable for someone to do, there are tools to help this make it go a little quicker. If you do use PHP Storm, there's a plugin from Magento that provides some nice features. If you don't have PHP Storm or don't have the plugin, just create the files manually. So here we're going to choose New Magento 2 Module. And for our package name, remember we're going to do the word training, capital T. For our module, we're going to do sales. The version's only relevant if you have a database, new table that we're managing. For this, we can probably omit it, but we'll just leave it for now. We are going to do a dependency. We're going to choose Magento Sales because we do want this module that we're writing to be loaded after the core module Magento Sales because our future functionality will depend on that module being there. So once you've done that, you'll notice it does create our folder structure for us. It created our training folder. It created our sales folder. It created our Etsy folder and our module.xml and our registration.php. It actually did create a composer.json. That's not needed. It's not required, so we can get rid of it. So looking at the module.xml, you'll notice that the name was pulled from our config that we used, training_sales. It's important to follow that pattern. There is another option for databases, but once again, if you don't have a custom table, then this is not required, and you can keep it or you can just omit it. For us, we're just going to get rid of it. There is a sequence, which once again tells this application that we want the module Magento Sales to be loaded first before our module, because our future logic will depend on that. Next is our registration.php. The only difference between this one and every other module that you'll ever create is going to be the name that you choose. For this one, we want it to be training_sales because that's the module that we just created. So now we're going to go to terminal and we are going to run the command setup upgrade. And what we're looking for here is to see our new module name be displayed on the output and also check for errors. And there is our new module name. So that's a really good sign. We can also check to see if our new module was put on the config.php. So we're going to go ahead and just grep that file, looking for our string training_sales on the app.etsy config. And sure enough, there it is. So that's a really good indicator that our module is completely ready and recognized by Adobe Commerce. And now we can actually add some real functionality. These code snippets were going to be in the tutorial. So in case you can't get this thing working by yourself, you can borrow those code snippets to make sure that your syntax is correct. Remember, there are many tutorials on Adobe Commerce found in Experience League. Please keep exploring, and I hope that you continue to learn more about Adobe Commerce and continue building your first module.